Inc. here. So I just checked the analytics on my YouTube page, and it says I have like comments, like I don't know, 11 comments or 29 comments or something like that, and I don't know where they are. On a couple of my videos, it says that the comments were disabled, but I don't think I did that. So, like I mentioned in one of my posts with the, I think that there are particularly women and possibly men that are systematically torturing me. My apartment has been broken into every day for almost 6 years now, every day. And they just do things like, damage my lingerie, steal my socks, like one of every one of my socks. And then they'll put them back half a year later, or they'll steal resources like my sugar. I think they may be adding poisons to my food, um, stealing my clothing and selling it or destroying it. Um, they cut my hair in my sleep. I think they sexually abuse me in my sleep because I find that my clothing is often like in a different order when I wake up. They take my jewelry off in the middle of the night. They hide my jewelry. Um, I was put on medication in my early 20s that I didn't need by the Homewood Health Center staff. And I'm not positive, but I think it may have caused some level of brain damage. Or I've been speaking out quite loudly about the 5G towers and the possibility that they are emitting some sort of frequency or signal. And at first, it was just because I had this like sick feeling in my stomach, and it was making me feel severely depressed. Except when I really analyzed the depression, I realized it was coming from my stomach. I felt like so nauseated that it was depressing me, which is odd because when I was in the Homewood Health Center forcibly again, where they were forcibly injecting me, I read an article in the Reader's Digest that said that something like 96 to 98% of the serotonin created in our system is actually created in the stomach and not in the head. Whereas psychiatrists have been prescribing medication that increases serotonin. For any of you who don't know, that serotonin is sort of it's considered a happy drug, although I would doubt that now, but it's something to do with mood anyway. So they've been prescribing serotonin producing medication for God knows how long, and no one bothered to tell you that subtle changes to your diet can have better, the same if not better effects. So why am I telling you that? Anyway, I just feel I've been systematically tortured, and it happened in jail too. So every time I'd get a meal, there'd be something missing. Just your salt, your pepper, your margarine. And for anyone who's been in jail, it is so mind numbing and so frightening that food is one of the few comforts. And if I believe the food is of such low quality that my muscle mass was starting to deteriorate, cramping, like diarrhea. Uh, yeah, it was horrible. And so when you're missing, that thing you were most hoping for in your food tray, you tend to see red. And so I found I was blaming the servers, the inmates that were doing the serving, because they seemed like the logical choice because they're criminals, right? Or apparent criminals. But then it occurred to me that it might not be the my fellow inmate. It might actually be the kitchen staff. So I wrote a request form to the management at Beignet to make sure that the staff in the kitchen were making sure all the condiments were present in all the trays, because again, like, jail is a very violent place. So if someone decides that it's a fellow inmate stealing from their tray and giving to someone else or keeping it. Like people die over that shit, and the staff know that. So if you have kitchen staff or jail staff and or laundry staff or whatever that are stealing things, like not only is it criminal in the sense that they could be on a mass. I mean, if you had women or men in every jail, in every school, in every daycare, every hospital, every that serve food, every cafeteria, and just every factory that makes those little things, like one or two packets a day by every staff in the purse, get shipped to wherever, or just served at your table instead of Vanier's table. And they probably know that the servers get um, blamed for that. And so I started to notice that every tray I got was missing a condiment. And when you know that someone's, or you suspect that someone's doing that on purpose, the level of hate you feel, the negative feeling you get when you know someone is slowly like destroying your psyche on purpose. Like, do you have any idea how feeling that hated and that despised and makes you feel? And the feeling you get when you know that there's a whole lot of people that hope you die, like are actually hoping that you'll take your own life or kill someone else so you get locked up for the rest of your life so they can seem better or more superior or right about you. Like like I feel so enormously hated. It's not funny. And Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I studied in psychology. One stage of reaching enlightenment is a social aspect, so being acclaimed by your peers and things like that. So like I said, when I've been systematically tortured, and it seems to be for no other reason, A, to get rich off of things that I make that might be of value, and B, just to destroy me, like just to see me suffer, just to see me decline, and ultimately to see my life end. And uh, I can't explain to you what that level of rejection feels like on a year after year basis. It's yeah, it's taken everything I could and every ounce of faith I have to keep going. But part of what got me through is that I knew these people were doing it on purpose, right? So it said way more about them than it did about me. As in turn, I never would have done that to them. Whoever they are, I never would have done that to them. And so when someone does that to you, and that they're suffering on some level way more than I ever will, because they actually feel okay with what they're doing or feel it necessary. I don't know. All I know is that when I started to realize that they were doing it on purpose, it actually um, helped me combat that kind of negativity, because, like I said, it said more about them than it did me. So the other thing I want to point out is that for years I see feathers on the ground as a gift, um, and I actually feel horrible when I pass one by, because I feel that's part of a living creature that's just being trampled into the soil. So for years, I've been picking up feathers. And I've mentioned my friend Chelsea, or my former friend Chelsea Miller, a few times, because I'm starting to suspect that she may be involved in what's happening to me. And part of the reason is because the man I was living with, before I moved out, before he moved out, she shared with me that she had sent him a friend request on Facebook. And I didn't say anything at the time because he and I weren't really committed. But I was like thinking that was very odd, because she didn't like him at all. She claimed to think he was very bad for me, and an alcoholic and a drug addict, and that he was a horrible person. And so the fact that she sent him a friend request on Facebook, uh, you know, raised my spidey senses a bit and didn't make me feel very good. Like it felt like a betrayal. But again, I didn't say anything because I tend to try not to be possessive, because at the end of the day, if if they like someone better than and they're happier with someone else, then why would I stand in their way of happiness if I actually care about them? But the reason I'm saying that is because when I was in the Holman Health Center for killing my cat, I shared that in a past video. Chelsea brought me a card with, I think, with 5 different colored feathers in it. And I was so touched because I didn't know she knew I liked feathers. I mean, I don't know if it was every day, but and I cried actually because it was such, I mean, as you can imagine, it was I mean, I don't even deserve to say this, but it was such a low point in my life, to have woken up from a horrible nightmare and realized what a horrible person you were. I mean, you go one day thinking one thing about yourself, and then you do something that bad, and it forever eradicates, how I would forever view myself and the guilt and everything. It's just, yeah, something you can never take back, and yeah. Anyway, so I cried when I opened the card, and she gave me that. So the reason I'm telling you is that I had a a, a hand towel that I was storing some feathers in, that I had found over the years that I didn't feel right. I didn't feel I wanted to discard yet, so I put them in a towel and I rolled them in the towel. And so I've been trying to. My apartment's being broken into every day for almost 6 years now. So at different things, I try to do different things to create security. So I'll hang streamers, and I put, a shipping pallet in front of the patio door so it was difficult to get in. I put these dangly things in front of my doors so that they get caught in them. I put a shower curtain bar across my bedroom door, so that they hit their head in it. I strung like colorful light, like a string of lights in my hallway as a tripping hazard. I put, keep out signs, and nothing stopped them. And so last night I had a feeling something very bad was going to happen. And so I scattered books in front of my patio door, because if you step on a book, they're very slippery because the cover is like a shiny paper often. So they're very slippery when people step on them. I closed my bedroom door, and I managed to close it so there was a mirror on the side they would enter. Because sometimes when thieves or criminals see their face when they're committing a crime, it can make them think differently. So I held a mirror and then closed the bedroom door so it was leaning on the bedroom door, and I put thumbtacks on the floor, um, at the base of the door, and they were hidden from underneath the door. And so I had a magnet that had like 10 thumbtacks stuck to it. And when I woke up I woke up somewhere in like 125 this morning, and I could hear someone in my apartment, but the bedroom door was closed. And I went and sat at my desk, and I pulled my home phone close to me and got ready to dial 911. Anyway, the noise passed, and I tend to try not to overreact, because that can really escalate um, the danger. So I also feel like I can that the the they're able to control me to a certain extent, because the mind is basically on off switches, and lots of dictators, Hitler for one, did lots of experiments with mind control and things. And it's always upset me that whatever country rescued um, Auschwitz victims, whatever government found those documents and the research papers that Hitler did, to me, those should have been handed over to the victims' families to be destroyed, to preserve the memory and honor the memory of the victims that were horribly tortured to get that information. But it probably wasn't destroyed. It was probably put into some other demented individual's hands. And so, that research obviously was not destroyed. So I feel like the brain is basically synapses. I've learned in psychology, the on-off switch is basically my binary, similar to a computer, on-off. And so I feel like with electrical impulses, they could possibly be the brain could possibly be manipulated. That's why I'm suspicious of the 5G towers, because it must emit some you know uh, it must have some emittance. All radio towers do, right? So yeah. Anyway, I've been speaking out about that, and um, can't remember where I was going that, but anyway, I feel like I was put back to sleep after I heard this intruder, and then when I got up at 6 or 7 this morning and opened my bedroom door, that magnet with all the thumbtacks attached to it was gone, and my dress that I was wearing to bed was hiked up, up to my breasts, because I know I'm being sexually manipulated in my sleep. My hair's being cut. Like, it is freaky what these people are doing to me. Freaky. And, what they're doing to other people. It's just, yeah, these are very, very sick people. Very sick people. And so I wonder sometimes about demonic influences. I have a hard time believing that people in and of themselves could be this evil, that anyone created by God could be this evil. Um, but, I feel you make so many mistakes and you start moving away from God, and pretty soon you can't see or feel the light. That's sort of how I feel. And it's not because God moved, it's because we move. And if we do enough horrible things and, continue to think, you know, non-loving thoughts, then yeah, we move out of God's light due to shame and guilt. On some level, our psyche would recognize that as a bad thing, and sometimes, like I said in another video, sometimes you dig a hole so deep you can't see a way out of it. So I'm extending these people a ladder out of their hole, because I think I think, you know as much as we like to think we're different from one another, we're not all so different. So I know that when I or other people get honest about our motives, um, they usually stem from some sort of lack, or some hurt, or some unrecognized hurt or rejection that a lot of people suffer from, especially people who have been abused in childhood or mistreated. So, like I said, I don't necessarily, want to be friends with these people forevermore, but I am extending personal, um, you know, yeah, personal level of some compassion to where they're at, because I think some of them may have been friends of mine, and yeah. Anyway, and the other reason I'm mentioning that is I unrolled that towel with the feathers that I kept, and I only had, maybe 7 or 8. And one of the decorating, i.e., safety constructions I was doing, I thought about putting a piece of wood above my door. I don't know if you can see this. And let's see. Sorry, where'd it go here? Where'd it go? Sorry. I don't know if you can see that. Probably not. But I put a piece of wood, and then I put feathers in behind the piece of wood. And so it's created a really nice look. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a really interesting look. A very woodsy look. The reason I'm showing you this is because there's all kinds of feathers in that towel that I didn't put there. I didn't put there, and I've been finding all kinds of like severely mangled wildlife in my neighborhood. All kinds of dead birds that have literally been ripped apart. And, you know, it could be another animal, but because they're birds, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, it's very sad. So, whoever is breaking into my apartment, they may be responsible for the death of those birds. And if it has to do with me and seeking revenge against me for some real or imagined hurt, I mean, I feel very bad. Not responsible necessarily, but very sad for the loss of life, for sure. I mean, I was not keeping that many birds, and there must be, you know, 17 feathers up there, and there's another 17 or 20 left in that roll. Some of them are wild turkeys. I've never found a wild turkey feather anywhere, and like I said, Chelsea Miller gave me a couple wild turkey feathers in her home in Kitchener a number of years ago. So, you know, I'm getting a very bad feeling that people I've known for a long time, including my mother, my brother, past partners, that may actually be involved in whatever plot or scheme this is. And again, the only thing I can think of is negative forces in the universe, negative entities that may be invading people's thoughts. Because, like I said, when I took that spider out of my friend's house, like the impact it was having on me in just a short period of time was insane. Like it was just, so if someone's living with entities that have moved into them, or maybe they welcomed them into it, because I thought one day that, you know, probably devils and angels answer prayers, really. But I feel like devils would answer them instantaneously. You'd be relieved of whatever pain it was you were in instantly, similar to addiction. You know, you get instant relief from taking whatever it is or doing whatever it is that is addictive. You know, you get instantaneous relief often. Whereas doing the right thing, or, you know, doing something healthy, often has delayed effects. And as an addict, you know, if we feel things so intensely that we just need to change that feeling, then yeah, a lot of us would go with the quicker, easier answer of letting a negative force supply us with something addictive, or supply us with, you know, a dark person, or yeah, a male or female who doesn't have good intentions, you know. I don't know. And there's always a payback, right? There's always a price to be paid. The devil always expects his pound of flesh, for the gifts he gives, you know. So, yeah, so, uh, but I do also feel that everything happens for a reason. And I felt for some time ago, that if the devil takes over the planet, then maybe it's supposed to, you know? And the reason I say that is because sometimes as an addict, when we go all the way to the bottom, that's when we really see sort of how far down the scale we've gone. Sometimes if we have people co-signing our bullshit, and that's why codependency is so dangerous for addicts, and, you know, why it might have been so dangerous for the person I was living with, is that, you know, if we save people from the consequences of their actions and don't make them aware that their actions are harmful to other people, then we allow them to continue to think that everything's fine. Their drinking is fine, their drug addiction is fine, their gambling is fine. And I remember thinking, you know, after my best friend exited my life and I hit the bottle hard, I remember thinking that when I got sober, that if she had stayed in my life, I would have been able to lie to myself and tell myself that everything was fine. And because she left my life, you know, I hit the bottle hard, and that was my wake up call that no, everything is not fine, you know. And so I feel very badly about being a codependent for so long. I did go to Westover, which is a week long treatment center in London for codependency, but to be honest, I didn't learn very much. I didn't learn very much at all. I found it not very educating. Um, anyway, what's my point? Oh yeah, so I was thinking that it's when we reach the bottom that we start to climb our way back out. either die or climb our way back out and hopefully improve the world or our lives or everybody's lives. But yeah, if all those birds died to prove some sort of point, I feel very bad for for those birds, for sure. So um, yeah, peace out.